In our last video, we learned how to join multiple panoramas together to generate this basic 3D room. And in this video, we are going to learn how to build a more standard room, more typical of what you would build with stage. So this one has furniture and some different level panoramas. You can also check out our model view over here, where it looks much nicer. So we're going to learn how to deal with that. So here we are back in our project browser, and we're just going to click new project here, and yes, model view and actual 3D tour. So most of this video, at least the first parts, are going to be a review of stuff you've already learned. If you want to skip those, I'll put timestamps in the description and just skip to the non-review parts if you want. Though I do recommend following along with the review parts just so you can solidify what you've learned better, but it's up to you. Okay, so our project is ready. We're just going to rename this to, let's say, Standard Tour, just to differentiate it from our other project. And settings, we're going to change that. Okay, now we're going to upload our new panos. Right, our images are ready. I'm just going to select all of them and I'm going to click new room. Now we're in our room. Let's just explore our panoramas a bit. So we have 3 panoramas and we are in the entrance hall, so I'll change the room name to that. Okay, so now the first thing we want to do is to make sure that we have the right reference panorama selected. Again, that's the R icon here. We want to make sure that it's assigned to the right panorama. So stage will automatically assign it to whichever panorama is on top of the list, but that's not always the best case, so we want to check. So this one is actually pretty good because what we want in the reference is, this is basically the panorama we're going to draw our floors and everything else in our room in, and just connect other panoramas to it. So we want to have, as much as possible, a clear view of the room. So ideally, one where you can see all the corners or as many corners as possible. It's also ideal if it's near the center of the room so other panoramas can instantly link to it. So this one is pretty nice, but let's just check the other panoramas. So Pano 2 would also be a good candidate because we can see all the corners. Pano 3 would not be an ideal reference panorama because it is on a different height compared to the other panoramas. So for your reference panorama, you want it to be the panorama that's on the lowest height in the room, which this isn't. This is higher than Pano 2 and Pano 1. So 3 is out, and now we're just going to choose between 1 and 2. So I am actually going to select Pano number 2 because it's going to be easier to connect Pano number 3 to this one because it's right next to it. Whereas if we choose Pano number 1, it's hard to align Pano number 3 with it. So yeah, Pano number 2, we're going to make that our reference. And now the orientation line, we're going to adjust that. Again, this is what we use to align our grid, which will influence our protractor later on. So it's very useful to set this properly. So it's going to be much easier to align stuff later on. Also, you may have noticed the helper text over here looks a bit less cluttered. That's because I clicked on this to make the extra text disappear. So if you want it to look a bit neater, just hide all the explanatory text by clicking this one. And then now you're going to add a few level lines around the room, again about 3. If you can put them on door frames, that would be the most ideal. Yep, we're done leveling our panels. So lens height, that's fine, nadir. I want it to be bigger so I can cover up this big patch over here. So I'm going to click measure and calibrate scale, that is also fine. So we are done prepping our paddles. Now let's move on to drawing our floors. So let's start with this corner over here because we can see it. Okay, so that's that, and we are just going to bring this up, and yep, looks pretty good. That is our room. And I'm just going to add a door over here. So clicking here and there. Okay, so this one is red. That means we've gone past our room dimension. So I'm just going to shorten it and it should show up as green. And this is leading into the kitchen, so we'll name it that. So we are pretty much done with our room. We are just going to match our panoramas together. So this is our front door, so we want this section of the wall to be over here. So let us move that using our interactive mode. Right, so these two panels, panel number 1 and 2, are now connected together. So we can move between them. And yeah, looks okay. But if you notice, the movement is a bit weird, especially if you look on this part. Pay attention to the container and the stairs. Make sure to keep your eye over here as I transition. Did you notice the way it sort of melted away into the walls? Like that. So that is not a good look. Because when you are moving between panoramas, ideally, of course, you want it to feel like the furniture in the room is actually tangible, like they can actually touch it. You want it to be 3D in short. So this one, the way it's melting away, we do not want that. And in order to solve that, we are going to add objects in our room. Okay, so let's switch to panel number 1 over here, and I'm going to show you how to draw an object for this container, and I'm going to explain more about objects after that. So I'm just going to click on the cube tool over here, and then I'm going to click on a spot near that container, and then I will just adjust this shape until it's occupying this whole container over here. So I'm just going to rotate that, and adjust a bit more. And okay, so we have drawn an object for this container. Now pay attention to what this looks like as we transition between the two panoramas now. See, it looks a lot more solid when we transitioned. Let's disable the visual guides just so you can see the effect better. Again, pay attention here. Yep. Notice how it looks more 3D as you move around. So that's what happens when you draw objects. And also you'll notice it in our model views. So let's add this room to our tour real quick. So I am actually going to edit in multiple tabs. So this is our room. We are going to open this room as well and open our tour editor so we can edit both of them side by side. So I'm just going to add this quickly to our floor plan. Then I'm going to switch to model view and quickly bake it. So here is our model. I'm going to press shift and click so I can drag it. And let's look about. So yeah, if you notice, this is the object we've drawn. And it looks solid in our model compared to, let's say, the stairs. The stairs sort of just stuck to the wall, but because we drew this object over here, Stage understands that this is an actual object in the room and it's going to show it as such. So that's why objects are important. Now let's go back to our room and I'll show you the kinds of things you can make using our objects. So we have a few basic shapes over here. So we have the cube tool, which you saw earlier. So this lets you draw cubes, and you can actually use the protractor again, so it's easier to draw. And then you can manipulate it by dragging these points around, or you can pick up an edge and rotate it along the opposite side. You can also, with cubes, select an edge to remove to turn it into a triangular prism. Besides that, you can also drag it around the surface. Whichever side you click on, that's the surface it's going to drag it on. So again, if I click on this side, it's going to drag along that plane. If I click this side, it's going to drag along this plane, and so on. You'll also notice when you're moving it along, it's going to snap to particular surfaces, like going to snap to the floor. And if you want to disable that, just press Shift so you can freely manipulate your objects. You can also copy paste it by pressing Control C, Control V, and it darkened a bit. That means we have two objects over here, and we can just manipulate that to form another triangular prism. Or again, we can make a cube and copy paste it and drag it around. So those are cubes. We also have cones and cylinders. So when you click this and click on two spots, you will be able to form this cylinder. And you can also turn it into a cone like that. So as you can imagine, this is pretty useful for lamps and stuff like those. And you can drag it around like this, make it smaller, bigger. You can also rotate it along this angle by picking up a side like that, and you can also copy paste it. Again, most of the things that you're going to do can actually be approximated into either cylinders, cones, or cubes or wedges. But in case you have any weirdly shaped objects that can't be approximated like this, you can use this one, the extrusion tool. And at first it's going to look like a cube, but you can actually pick up the edges over here and change the angle. And you can add as many points as you like. Just click between two edges over here. So you can definitely generate some weird shapes using this tool. And again, just adjust it and you can copy paste it. So those are our basic object shapes. Now let's talk about where you should actually put those objects. So for example, in this room, we have a bunch of objects in this room. Like for example, this one, I guess a vent. And we have this pot over here and the dinosaur. And we have this painting. And of course, we have this humongous staircase over here. So the question is, should we create an object for each one of these objects? And the answer is no, you don't. You only need to add objects if, number one, you want it to show up in your model like this as a tangible object. And if it's like a wall decoration like this, it's not really necessary because it's going to show up on your wall anyway. So no need to draw your paintings. And another guideline is if it's a pretty small object like this potted plant or this dinosaur and it's along the wall, again, you don't really need to draw it anymore because it's going to show up pretty well on your model. But this staircase, obviously, because it looks like a monstrosity if we leave it alone, then yes, we do have to draw an object for that. Another guideline is if you're transitioning between panoramas, And you notice one of the objects in your room is bothering you when you move between panos. Yeah, it would be a good idea to add an object for that too. So let's draw this staircase. Now, first of all, we have to think which shape should we use. So obviously this isn't a cylinder, so we're not going to use this. But now we have the question of should we use the extrusion tool or the cube? And honestly, it's going to depend on how detailed you want it to be. So we could, for example, use the extrusion tool and really dig in to like every little detail like this. So I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to put another side over there, and then I'm going to move this and this and so on. Now you can really be as meticulous as you want, and that will probably make your model look a bit better. Okay, so that is our first step. And yes, you can go on and draw the same sort of thing for each and every step in this staircase. But we really don't have to. We don't have to be that detailed. For the most part, if you can approximate it, do that, because you're going to save a lot of time and it's not really going to affect your model much. Like if we try to add another step over here, it's going to take us forever just to get this thing done. Okay, so this is what we have so far. This is what we have drawn, and it looks pretty good. And we could go on and draw the rest of the staircase like this, but I am not actually going to do that because that takes too much time. So instead, I am going to shortcut it by drawing a cube to represent the rest of the staircase. And I know that sounds weird, like how exactly does this look like a cube? But I am going to show you. I'm going to add a cube over here. And by the way, the reason I am starting my drawing on the top of this staircase is because that automatically adjusts the placement of this cube to be on top of this step instead of let's say drawing another cube over here, then it's going to be as low as the floor rather than higher than this step. So just a brief explanation. And then what I am going to do is I am going to extend this all the way over there, and then I am going to pick up this edge and I'm going to drag it up like this. I'll disable protractor to make it easier to adjust it, and I am just going to make it prettier as well. So we have the angle sort of already, and that's why it's easy to approximate using a cube, because it's pretty much just a flat surface at an angle. So we are just going to adjust it like that. Make sure that it's taking up all of the steps like that. So those are the rest of the stairs. And let us again generate our model so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so this is our model. And as you can see, it's a bit less detailed than the first steps we drew, but really it's a pretty good enough approximation. So depending on the quality you want to go for regarding your objects, then you can definitely go the shortcut route, which is quicker, or go through the more detailed process of adding every tiny detail. So it's up to you. It's your tour, so your rules. And zooming in a bit, you can see that it doesn't match up that well, so that means we can make this a bit prettier. You can also check right in the room editor so we don't have to wait for our model to finish baking, just to see if everything matches properly. So in this case, I am going to use the WASD keys to look around. and sort of just see if we are actually catching all the good parts of our staircase. So yeah, even from here you can see that it's not aligned properly on this side, so I am going to adjust that. So it's pretty easy using this tool to work out where everything is. I think I'm just going to add like a simple cube over here just to fill up this gap. Okay, so that should look a bit better in our model. Okay, actually this one should be extended that. So looking at our model, I think we can improve it a bit more if we add the banister as part of our model. So I am going to switch back to our room editor and add it. So again, looking at it, I think we can approximate this using a cube. So first I am going to add these two stands over here and then the railing. So to do that, I am going to click on cube again, and then instead of pressing here, like drawing my cube here, that would not be good because it is going to be at an angle. I would rather have it on the right angle immediately. So I think I am going to click here instead. So I know that it is in fact straight. Then I also know that it's going to be in line with our stairs over here. And we can confirm that by using the WASD keys on our keyboard. So if we move over here, we can see that it's not jutting out like this, which is bad. But we wouldn't necessarily see it from this angle. So that's why it's important to check using the WASD keys. So undo that. And we will just move this to make it a bit shorter and make it a bit thinner as well. Okay, so that looks good. I'm also going to extend it a bit so it fits. And I'll switch away and back to this panorama so we can reset that view. And again, copy pasting this because it's essentially the same thing. The top over here, I am going to just drag it until it matches and confirming again using WASD. Let's move over there. Yep. So as you can see, the wood is inside the object we've drawn and that's what we want. So that's good. Then again, switching back. I am going to put the last bit of the banister by copy pasting this one and just adjusting it so it's about that high. This matches, and it's okay if there's a bit jutting out. It's up to you. Like, do you want to add a tiny little wedge over here just to accommodate that? It's really up to you. Or even this whole thing, this whole banister, you can leave it alone if you want. The nice thing about Metareal Stage is you can customize the quality of your tour to be as good looking as you want or as fast as you want. So obviously if you want to speed build this, then you are going to go with this option, like the approximation. If you want higher quality, then you will try to draw every step of the staircase. So that gives you a lot of freedom to decide on what quality you want, what price range you want to offer your clients. Maybe if they pay higher, you will produce higher quality models. So it's up to you. Okay, so here we are. So it looks pretty solid, and we can make this look even better by joining our last panel over here. Because like I said before, the more panels you have, the better your model tends to look. So I am going to go to panel number 3 over here, and I am going to join it with our reference panel using interactive mode. So I'm going to click M to move it. So let's see, I guess over here. And as you can see, it's much easier to figure out where everything should be now that we've drawn our objects, because we know that these are, like, this is our staircase, so it should be over there. So again, moving this over here. Okay. So as you noticed, the geometry we have drawn, the room we have drawn is too big for our panel, which makes sense because again, this is higher than our two other panoramas. So in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to use the scale panorama function over here by clicking this or pressing S. We're going to move the pivot point over there, and then we are just going to drag to scale until it fits, until the geometry and our panel fits together. Yep. So that looks decent. I am going to switch to panorama view just to check. And I can also go to panorama and use the WASD keys to sort of verify that everything is in its right place. So that should be fine. I am again going to generate our model, and it should look better now that we have a new panorama. And the reason for that is the more panoramas we have, the more information Stage has about our room. Like it knows what this spot is going to look like from multiple angles, so it's going to show that spot better. Okay, so here is our new model, and again, we don't have the banister drawn across the wall anymore. And again, the more panoramas you have, the better looking your model tends to be. So imagine if maybe you had another panorama over here, that's going to get rid of this line over here. If you had another panorama over here, that should give more detail to this section of the room. So again, it depends on you. How detailed do you want your model and your tour to look? Okay, so we are done with this room. I am just going to go and verify. Okay, and then in our preview, I'm going to check that everything is working properly. Okay, and I am happy with my tour, so I am going to publish it. We can go back to our project dashboard, and we'll be able to access our new tour. Here we are. You can move around, look around, and so on. Okay, so we know how to build a standard room in Metareal Stage now. Now, what's next? Of course, most of the tours you're going to build aren't going to be made up of just one room. Like in this case, we have other rooms. Like this one should lead into the kitchen, and we also have rooms upstairs. So for our next video, I am going to show you how exactly, after building multiple rooms together, how you can join them on the same floor or from different floors like this. So see you then. Thanks for watching and happy tour building!